This is the Griffin Realty Group podcast, episode number 51. We start our agent plan series, and the question on the table is real estate agency a job or a business? Are you a home seller or home buyer who has questions about selling or buying residential property, but you can't find an easy way to get your answers? Well, then, hey, you are definitely in the right place. I'm Danny Griffin, the founder of the Griffin Realty Group and the host of the Ask-A-Griffin podcast. Now, to help you take immediate action to get started in the right direction, if you need to sell or buy property right now, or if you're an agent, we have free step-by-step guides that are waiting for you at griffincourses.com. That's Griffin courses.com. Okay, let's get started here. In this episode, we're going to start in the agent plan. So if you have ever thought about becoming an agent, this is for you. And the question on the table is real estate agency a job or a business? So the first point here is that I'm going to be a myth buster. Real estate agency is not a job with flexibility. Even though most people think that's what it is, it's not. It's a real business. Very, very important to understand this. And especially if you're a seller or buyer listening in on this as well, and you've always been curious about how this works, and you look at a real estate agent and you have a perception of what that person is. And I'm not talking about, yes, I am the broker owner of Griffin Realty Group, but I am also an agent and have been one since 1999. And when I first started in the business, I knew it was a business. I was coming out of sophisticated businesses, studying them, and I was looking for a business opportunity. I wasn't looking to go work for somebody in the capacity of a job. And I also wasn't naive enough to think that this wasn't going to be anything but hard work. But in a job, one of the benefits, typically, there are very clear outlines of what you are doing. You get hired as an employee to do certain things, and you're expected to do that typically in a 9-to-5 type of framework, maybe Monday through Friday. You walk in, you walk out, and you don't carry all the burdens of a business. In real estate, that's not the case. You carry all of the burdens of, first of all, understanding how does a business, a small one, really work. So you have this solopreneur, as they call an individual who's an entrepreneur starting a business. You have this solopreneur who has all this burden of understanding how this works. Now, of course, in most states in the United States, you become an agent under a brokerage because there is a certain apprenticeship that's required in most states. Typically 2 years, you need to work under somebody else before you can actually start a whole entire brokerage/agency. But in either case, you're a business owner. So as you come in as an agent, you enter a brokerage which may or may not have any formula. And I will tell you, if I put my other cap on as a trainer and a coach for many, many years as well, I wear both of these hats. The biggest problem in this industry is a lack of a plan. And I think in business, if you think about it, you think about TV shows where the Shark Tank and a lot of people come in, the savvy business people that are trying to invest, the angel investors that are trying to invest in a business, they can tell very quickly whether somebody has a plan. Now, a lot of people will invest in the person, in their persona. But they won't do it haphazardly. If they can see planned type of activity, they see the potential for success. And we see that when we recruit agents here at Griffin Realty Group. In fact, right before the recording of this podcast, I was talking to a very young agent who's still in school. She's about to graduate college. She's going directly in to get her MBA. So she's very business oriented, very sharp. And she understood immediately when we gave her our free plan that this was a business. She wasn't naive about that at all. And she had a lot of the buzzwords about marketing and whatnot. But again, she doesn't know what she doesn't know about how small business works. So what I did was I educated her on how to apply what she was learning to the real estate business. And in this case, the real estate agent, individual, solopreneur business. And I'll emphasize this with the second point by saying, look, the real difference to really give you the smelling salts moment in the difference between a job and a business opportunity, you'll recognize it unless you become a salaried employee, okay? Unless you become a salaried employee, which is the indication that you're entering into a job. You are an independent contractor, also known as an independent business owner. And if you do any Googling on the failure rate of small business, you know that it's catastrophically high. So you need to take this business very seriously. The national average is that most realtors will sell about 3 properties in a year. And most people, when I tell them that, they can't believe it. They can't believe it's that few. Now, remember, we are at least dealing in a very big ticket item. So from a commission basis, once that independent contractor goes to a brokerage like the Griffin Realty Group, there are what are called splits. So we take on certain responsibilities in our business to train, to coach, to mentor, to help them close, to deal with their signs, to deal with their websites. So we are what's called a full service brokerage, where we are adding a lot of value to that agent in exchange for a certain amount of money that comes from the commission as the gross commission comes into the business. So it's a split of the revenue that comes in. So there's the proof that 2 businesses are coming together and there's an exchange of value, and the money is split up based on that exchange of value. So that's obviously massively different than somebody who comes in and says, where's my paycheck at the end of the month, where the company is responsible for withholding taxes, maybe making a contribution to a 401k program. Everything is built in to the paycheck each and every week, and there's not a lot of thinking. You're walking away with the net, and you're walking away with really nothing to worry about over the weekend per se. Don't get me wrong. I know a lot of people have to worry all the time about the job security. They have to do a good job. A lot of those people work really hard, overtime, not paid. I get it. I don't mean to knock the job. I just want to make the distinction here that really nobody's coming for you as an independent contractor. You might go to a company where they're trying their best to promise you all of the things that they can do to help you, but ultimately you're fully responsible. Because look, the independent contractor rules and laws are such that we can't tell you what to do. I mean, that breaks this whole agreement of what an independent contractor is. And in the world of independent contractors, real estate has a special place as distinguished by the real estate license according to the IRS, right? The Internal Revenue Service in the United States. So, but in general, if you were to Google the definition of the difference between independent contractor and an employee, is that a lot of it just basically says you cannot tell somebody what to do, that they have to show up and they have to do their own thing to a certain extent. Of course, there are policies and procedures. There are rules because you're representing, in this case, the brokerage. And if you do something wrong, the brokerage is liable as well. So, of course, there are rules and regulations that must be followed in this co-business relationship. But otherwise, you're on your own to show up and do what you have to do. Nobody's coming for you, like I say in all of my podcasts. So that's the big difference here. Now, the third point is I want to emphasize the problem here. The failure rate for small businesses is massive, but very particularly in the real estate agency business, it's very big. Nearly 89% of realtors, this is according to the National Association of Realtors, and of course these fluctuate, but you get the point. The idea is that nearly 89% of realtors, that means a real estate licensee. So I took a course, which is a prerequisite for most states. I took a test given by that state to get licensed in that state. And then I joined the National Association and a local board of realtors to become what's called a realtor. 2 beats, that's it, not realtor, realtor. That is a national association that has a self-imposed code of ethics. That's the real main primary focus, is that we adhere to a code of ethics as a realtor. So we're a licensee who's gone up higher, and we become a member of a multiple listing service, which is typically intertwined with the association rules and regulations, et cetera. Not always. Some MLSs are independent of all that. You join a separate board, but the standard is that the realtor is a real estate licensee who has elevated their interest in staying and being educated and following a code of ethics. So understand that difference. It's a big one. But even after that, even after the continuing education, the real problem here is that nobody knows what to do. See, when you start a business, if you think about why franchises are so very popular, it's because in essence, it's very much of a plug and play system. So that if I wanted to become a hamburger joint owner, then I'm going to go and see if I can buy a franchise like a McDonald's, a Wendy's, whatever it might be, a Chick-fil-A. I don't even know if those Chick-fil-A's are franchises, but you get the point. I go in where somebody has already figured out a system that I can plug into and just go to work on that system. And I have to pay the company that owns the franchise, right? I have to pay a certain percentage of my revenue to them. And that's okay because it's a plan. In a lot of cases, when the demographics are done correctly and the storefront is opened in the right place, there is a certain level of success that can be attained. There's a level of certainty. Well, in real estate agency, I know there are a lot of places out there, and this is not a pitch for the Griffin Realty Group versus all of these others, but our obsession and why we actually do podcasts on it is to give it away, to try to give away the what to do stuff to become a successful seller, a buyer, or an agent. And we just keep rotating through that. I just started the agent plan. I just finished the buyer plan. Before that was the seller plan. We try to give away our best what to do stuff for free so that people won't fail. And there's a massive failure rate in the sell side of the real estate business. You know how that's measured? By the level of expired listings. So many people, and even in good markets, so many people go to try to sell their property only to fail. Myriad reasons why. But let's just suffice to say, there is a lot of failure when it comes to listing. So you can only imagine that without a plan for the seller, without a plan for the buyer, without a plan for the agent, that's why we have such a problem. That's why oftentimes errors and omissions insurance have to come in because even the non-nefarious agent can make a mistake that can be egregious and it can hurt somebody because they're undertrained. Training is a big deal. But the problem is, train what? What are you training? If you're not training against a plan, that's the point. So the fourth point here, let me just get to it because I keep saying the word. You need a plan to last as an agent in this business. And so I know as a coach for a long time, I was coached by one of the top agents in the world for a national brand. I went on to coach over 200 people in one segment of his coaching program. I currently run my own private coaching program under the Realty Classroom brand, where I have 32 top producers across North America that I help on a one-on-one basis. They help me stay focused on the refinement of the business for my own agents. We're expanding this company across the country. And so we arrive with a plan. We arrive with a plan for them. In fact, right before the recording of this podcast, I talked to a young gal, like I was telling you. She has our plan in hands. Now, if she never decides to join the business, at least I've put a dent in the potential that she becomes one of the 89% that is out of the business in 5 years. And I'm talking a bright, beautiful young person. Somebody who is absolutely enthusiastic about learning business, going on to learn another level of business. But at some point in time between the BA in business and the MBA in business, you have to come and apply all of that to a real independent contractor situation like real estate agency, as an example. And that plan is completely different. It needs to be simple. It needs to be practical. And you need to train against that. And that obviously includes a plan for what do you do to guide a seller, especially if you're new with all of this academic knowledge. What do you do with practical knowledge? How do you know what to do? Well, we have a simple 7-step program for our buyers. By the way, griffincourses.com. I'd say it all the time on these podcasts. Not enough people take advantage of it. It's the what to do information that we give away for free. So that's the point, is that if there are just fundamentally universal steps that every seller goes through, every buyer goes through, every agent goes through, there's your core training. And then you go out into the real world, and when something happens and it doesn't go your way, you come back and get coached against the plan. What did you do? Okay, well, let's go back to your training. Remember when we talked about this? You might have not fully understood it. You need to be very precise with this language when you're talking to a seller about pricing it right. Let's go back over this training. And that's how you get better. You keep training against the things, and hopefully the course corrections aren't always failures. It's just like, I know I could have done that better. And that's exactly how you use a plan. Not a complicated one. I remember when I first started in this business, I was coming out of the venture capital business, believe it or not, in the investment banking business. I was a corporate guy before I got into this business, and it was very small for me. I mean, talk about small, 2,000 business cards, a lamp, and a work ethic. That's it. But I was looking desperately for a plan back then. And there was no internet back in 1999 like there is today. It was there, but it was in some big mainframe somewhere, and you didn't just sit down and look things up. So I had to go to Barnes and Noble and look up and down the shelves, and nobody had really written a book about a real estate agent plan for the real estate agent. And when I went to Realty Executives, guys were great, but they asked me, "What's your plan?" I said, "You don't have one?" So you get the point. All right. So let me go back here. Let's summarize this up. We're starting a new series here on the podcast. It's our agent plan. And the first question on the table is realistic. And these are questions, by the way, that are rhetorical, that you should begin to learn about and know. I ask them and then help you with the answers. So is real estate agency a job or a business? Of course it's a business, but here are the points. Myth busting. Real estate agency is not a job with more flexibility. That's the way a lot of people see it. Oh, this job stinks because they have me 9 to 5. If I just get that job in real estate, I'll just sell a lot of houses and drive a Mercedes. Not going to work. This is a real business that takes real responsibility. Point number 2, unless you become a salaried employee, you are what's called an independent contractor, also known as an independent business owner. That's now proliferated with the onset of a lot of us working from home, a lot of us working on platforms. People are less and less and less becoming employed by major corporations, and they're working as independent contractors in conjunction with big corporations. Third, the failure rate in this business is massive. Nearly 89% of realtors will be out of the business in 5 years. That's just factual. And that's consistent with the small business failure, which is what we are. So you need a plan to last. Point number 4, get a plan in place. You can start with our freebie that you can find at griffincourses.com if you want to become an agent or you're trying to fix your business up because it's been lumping along. All right, I'll summarize it this way. According to the National Association of Realtors, the average real estate agent will be out of the business inside of 5 years. The number one problem is that they were never given a simple and effective plan to follow and grow their business into. All right, remember, you can take immediate action to get started in the right direction if you need to sell or buy property or become an agent right now or in the near future by getting our free step-by-step guides that are waiting for you at griffincourses.com. Also, don't forget, you can subscribe to this podcast if you like to hear this stuff on a regular basis. We're on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you listen. And you can also find us on our social media channels. We post these episodes there, and then you won't miss out on an episode each time we upload. We'd also appreciate it, of course, if you would comment. Let us know what you're thinking. And that way we can help you get the right information if you're buying, selling, or trying to become a successful agent. But remember this, I sign off the same way every time. Nobody's coming for you. Nobody. So go get to work on your own plan for buying, selling, or becoming an agent, and we'll see you in the next episode to help you do just that. Thanks again.